Hello everyone, this is Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition, session 75. I was actually mistaken the last time because we had a day out off. So on Tuesday until Tuesday we featured 74 of our alumni members. They attended any of the educational programs which was organized by Future Food before. And this could be the Food Innovation Master Program, what I myself also graduated from and what my guest today also graduated from in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Also, the other educational programs can be summer schools or the food and climate shaper boot camps, what we currently are co-organizing with FAO. These boot camps take place both in person and in a digital format. We on this month actually concluded the third edition of the digital boot camp, and while I'm waiting for my guest to join, I can explain you a bit more about this bootcamp because our next edition is coming up in the summer, so the applications are already open. Plus, we also have two in-person bootcamps already scheduled in Italy this year. So one of them will be on a beautiful island, and it will be around climate smart oceans, and the other one will be in Pollica. And Pollica is where Future Food has a new base now, because that's where the Future Food Mediterranean, the academy about Mediterranean diet and education, will be hosted. So I'm trying to invite there we go. Hi, Mercy.
Hi, Julia. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Just checking the positioning.
All right. While you do
Okay.
that, I just quickly tell the audience that these sessions are very casual. You will get to know our alumni, how they ended up in the Future Food Network, what is their connection to the food system, and what kind of actions are they taking to build a more sustainable food future. And these sessions happen twice a week, with a few exceptions. But on Tuesday evening, Central European time, and Thursday morning, we are hosting to accommodate all of the different time zones, because as you can imagine, our alumni are located all over the world. Recently, we actually did a count. We are represented in more than 50 countries by now. And this is just growing because, as you could hear, the boot camps are happening multiple times per year, and the digital cohorts are up to 50 people. So the network is continuously getting bigger and bigger, and I'm super excited to stay in touch with the alumni, involve them in different projects. Last week, we also had the Food for Earth Day Marathon, where Mercy also had a session with her colleagues from Zimbabwe. But now, without me taking too much time, because I can talk till tomorrow morning, let me hand over to Mercy Chatyoka. I really hope that I pronounce your name well. Please introduce yourself, tell us where you are dialing in from, and how did you end up on the Food Innovation Program in 2015, right? That was your cohort.
Yes. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Future Food Institute, for having me today. My name is Mercy Chachkoka Jowa. I'm dialing in from Zimbabwe. I am a food technologist by training and experience, but I've recently quit corporate engagement to go into full-time food production, which is farming. So I'm now a food technologist come farmer, because I'm still involved in consultancy work to do with food technology systems and all that at corporate level with my clients, but I am mostly now in the food production as a farmer and as an owner of my own independent business, which I'll speak to in future in this conversation. I hope I'm very audible. So I joined Food Innovation Program. We were the pioneer group of that program, the Food Innovation Program, the master's program with the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia in 2015. How I came to see the program was I am a subscriber to Food Tank. So you see, I'm very much involved in food. So Danielle Nerinbeck is also and accompanying a member of the Future Food Institute accompaniment. She comes, she does talks and all. So by virtue of I being a subscriber to her channel and her podcasts and everything, I saw the master's program the call to apply. So I responded and I applied. I remember it was only 2 hours. I think they said that I'd only 2 hours remaining before the closing time of the deadline. I didn't know that. Well, I remember, no. Actually, what happened is I saw that earlier and I kind of flagged it and I said, I need to do it. So then the reminder on my laptop button of my unfinished tasks that and deadlines that are approaching started beaming. And I said, okay, what's this? Then I looked and then, I hadn't applied. And that's when I started the application. And then they saw that I was trying to apply and they called me from Italy and they said, you know what, we see that you're trying to apply for our program. You only have 2 hours left to the deadline. Are you sure you will be able to finish in time? Because we have about 8 essays that need to be completed. And I say, okay, let me take the challenge and see how it goes. Wow. So there I was, busy for the next 2 hours, couple of hours, and then I applied and I managed to finish my essays and I sent through my application in about a week because they had already said that was the deadline day, right? So in about a week, they called back and they said that I had been admitted for the program and I had gotten a partial scholarship. Now that's where my challenge was, because there I was admitted for a master's partial scholarship, which was covering air tickets and all, but there wasn't any tuition. It was covering accommodation and air tickets, but without any and accommodation and tuition. Accommodation and air ticket, but without tuition cover. So I started running around, going to all the people that I know that offer scholarships. I couldn't get any, and then somehow, when I kept on engaging with the administrators, and then they said, you know what, still come and you pay whatever you can, and they no. After that, they said, oh, we managed to get another sponsor, so they said they can cover part of your tuition. And I said, good. Then they said, we will offer you a chance to work whilst on the program so that you can then earn the other amount to cover. And that's when I then discussed with my husband, and then I decided to come for the program. That's how I came to Italy. That's how I became an alumni. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, and whilst I was actually then studying, that's when they got another. So many sponsors were now interested in the program as it started running and seeing the work that we were doing, and what Sarah and everybody else was doing, and then more sponsors came through. And that's when they said, okay, we have people that hadn't had full scholarship covers. So that's when then I got covered eventually. So I actually then never paid for I got a full scholarship in the end. Yeah.
Amazing. So that's the nice thing when everything comes into place and then you can manage to attend a program like this. I also know that was the cohort who had the chance to work on the expo and visit the expo, which was taking place in Italy during that time. So with that and all of the different learnings, what do you think were the main takeaways for you from the program?
So great that you mentioned the World Food Expo. I was actually very much involved in the World Food Expo, working with the Institute and covering a number of African countries and a number of European countries, because we were divided into sessions. Those that wanted to work on the expo, we were divided into sessions. So I was covering most of the Southern African countries because they were almost in the same cluster. Actually, no, the clusters were divided in terms of the food that are prevalent in your country. So Zimbabwe was in the roots and tubers cluster. So that's where Zimbabwe's pavilion was. And together with that, there was Venezuela, there was Bolivia, which other country? I don't remember the other country. I think Kenya and Mozambique, most of the other African countries were there because roots and tubers are very prevalent in Africa. And then I was also covering Istria, Switzerland, and a number of other European countries. Yeah. So I was attending most of their events and covering them, logging them into because we were collecting information, we were collecting webinars, brochures and all, and then we were feeding into the system that we had created. So that's what I was responsible for. Over and above that, I was my great learning experience was the entire exposure to the different food systems that are in operation in Europe. And I would like to say that that's when I then changed to say that I want to be involved full time in the food system, not from a technical position as a food technologist as I was before, but from a production linkage perspective. So as we were working in the program, my dissertation was actually on linkages of smallholder farmers to viable markets. Why I chose that, it was because I had been exposed to systems that were operational and fully organized in Europe. The likes of the smallholder farmers that came together in cooperatives, and what the power of unity they were putting on the food systems was quite different than when you were working individually. So that then pushed me to say, we can do this exact same thing in Zimbabwe. And that's what I needed to do. So I had to coin my dissertation around that work. So that's what I presented. And my major problem was on food waste, because we have so much problem of food waste because all farmers, they're not so accustomed to other viable markets rather than the public markets. So in the event, if you go to the market and you're flooded and the market is flooded already and the prices go down, you tend to take a long time at the public market, and you're earning less, and in the end a lot of food gets rotten and gets wasted. So that's what I needed to cover. That was my main problem. And then the solution was to link them to other viable markets. So linking them to wholesalers, fresh produce wholesalers and retailers, and caterers and restaurants and institutions like hospitals, etc. So that was, yeah. And then why, and this is why what I'm saying was my greatest learning point, because it opened me to a whole lot of and other possibilities that come up if you are organized, and if you are organized smallholder farmers. The very good examples are the likes of Auchenero, and COP was also working with some smallholder farmers, and the issue of I'm forgetting the name of the place, the one that's at the region of Parma and Reggio Emilia, the one that makes Parmigiano Reggiano, the Parmigiano Reggiano factory. Yes, that one for the milk producers. So those systems exposed me to thinking, okay, we can try and emulate this and do the exact same thing in Zimbabwe. So that's how I came to be. And from then on, I've actually managed to join a number of farming organizations. Particular one is the Federation of Young Farmers Clubs Zimbabwe, where I'm mostly involved in markets and market linkages because of my exposure, because of my experience in food systems, because of my experience as a food technologist in food safety issues, quality and all that. It makes sense for me to be involved in markets. So yeah, that's what I am, and I'm a full member of that alumni of that club, that organization. It's for young farmers really, and I'm a purse setter in that. So in that kind of membership, that organization, there's also another elite member group which is called pace setters, for those that are doing extraordinary work in the food system. So that's where I'm involved.
Wow,
Yeah.
very impressive. And I really like to see how the learning could actually become something what you implemented in your local context. I'm very curious, as a food technologist, how do you see the nutrition inequalities and gaps in Zimbabwe? And what do you think are the actions taken currently, or what are the actions what should be taken to bridge this gap?
It's, this is a very challenging position that we are in Zimbabwe, because malnutrition is a huge issue in Zimbabwe, and which the policymakers have tried to sort of work around by introducing a mandatory food fortification program, including biofortification. But it wasn't taken up to the levels I think that they expected and that we expect, as well as the people that are involved. I was involved in the mandatory food fortification program, still is, as a technical person, and because most of the training sessions that ran at the factory where I was working as the group nutrition and innovation manager of that factory, number one. Number two, I am the current chairperson of the Sun Business Network. So you know the Sun, I'm sure you know the Sun movement, scaling up nutrition movement. I am the chairperson of the business network for the Zimbabwean chapter. So that gives me that outright outlook on issues that are actually going on and what's happening. And I feel we still have a lot to do in Zimbabwe, because over and above the nutrition, the malnutrition issues, now slowly there are other nutrition abnormalities that are slowly cropping up. Issues to do with obesity, issues to do with other eating disorders that are coming in. But still, there's still that real challenge of malnutrition, especially in children, because our fight is that if we have children that are fully nourished, well nourished, and they grow up into adults, those adults are productive adults, and that's what our aim is. And so we are working with as I said, I'm the chairperson of the Sun Business Network of Zimbabwe movement. With the business network, we are working towards innovations, food innovations that address the malnutrition aspect. So whatever food innovation we want to, my really call to action is, as a chairperson, is that whatever innovations that we are putting on the market, new products, they need to be addressing any nutrition gaps that have been identified, because a number of surveys are being done, a number of researches are being done in terms of what our nutrition status is looking like in Zimbabwe. So from those micronutrient surveys, from that Zimbabwe nutrition situation surveys that are happening with together with the Ministry of Health and the Food Nutrition Council, we are saying whatever gaps that we identify, can we not identify a food player, whether a major player or a small mid to medium enterprise, that can close that gap with an innovation that addresses that particular gap that has been identified? So I guess that's how I am involved, and that's how we as the business network are trying to solve that issue, the problems of nutrition in Zimbabwe.
Amazing. But I see you are active in so many different levels in this complex food system, from the production point of view, distribution, and now also innovation. This is very, very impressive. So now I would like to hear about your farming project, this independent project, Pik IT Fresh Farm. How did the idea come, and what exactly are you doing?
Okay, like I said, when I was doing my my master's, my food innovation program master's, that's when, as I was exposed to systems in Europe, how farmers were very organized, I said, okay, my dissertation is on this and I'm going to work on it. So when I got back home, I put together systems to try a database to link farmers to those viable markets. So as I was talking to one of my mentors, and he was my boss at work at National Foods, his name is Louis Ngwenya. He's also involved in the food systems with his factory. And when I was speaking to him and telling him all about the project that I was working on and the work that I was doing, then he says, you know what, Messi, hold on. I think you're going too far. Yes, you are doing work and you're linking these smallholder farmers to the viable markets that you have identified, and you have established a relationship with yourself personally. One thing that I need to tell you is, as your coaches and as your mentor, is these people are not very reliable. So you might need to find a way to close that gap. Otherwise, you will have challenges with the market, with your customers. So for you to bridge that gap, I think you need to have some involvement in the production side yourself. So as you say that, I said, okay, fine, I'll see what I can do. So our main major target is actually the horticulture section, because that's the section which, remember I said I singled out the issue of food waste, and the fresh produce market is where that problem is mainly prevalent. So that's what sort of pushed me now to being involved in production. And by virtue of that, it became by default that I also had to be involved as a producer, as a primary producer of horticulture produce. So I became a horticulture farmer. I didn't have land, but luckily my husband has had a relative who had a piece of land, about 39 hectares of land, but it was being underutilized. You know, she was practicing, his aunt was practicing subsistence farming. So she would just do a piece of land where she does her maize and a bit of watermelons and a bit of okra and all the other bits to supplement her earnings so that she could get by, you know. So we got in, and when I was discussing with him what my mentor had said, he said, okay, let's see if we can make a visit to go to visit my auntie at the farm and see how we can get by with the discussion. We did, and she said, you know what, I'll be happy to have you guys come along. And because there is a river, a perennial river that flows next to the farm, that's the water source that we've been using, that they've been using, and so that's the one that we use. So we actually managed to produce all year round, and that area is mostly prevalent in production of watermelons, and that's around the summer period. So we said, okay, post summer, what do? We still have these gaps in the markets where other produce are limited. What can we do? And also because I remember I'd created a database of suppliers, our clients that we were supplying to through the database of the smallholders that I had. So I said, okay, we can still find out what they wanted, and we can give them what we need, and then we produce for their demand. So that's kind of the model that we operate on. We operate on a delivery on demand model. We get orders, and sometimes we don't have orders. We just know things that from studying the trends. Now, my husband is an agribusiness expert, so studying trends of how the supply chain works, we notice that there are surges in supply on the market, and then there are also dips. So we tried to cover most of the dips because that's where we could get a lot, a huge margin in that sense. So that's what we are doing. Pik IT Fresh was born in 2016, established then, and then got registered in 2017. And since then, we haven't turned back. We've been working, but we were working almost on a part-time basis because we had our other engagements. I was still working for National Foods as their group, she and Quality and Nutrition and Innovation Manager. He was working also as project manager for most of the people that are involved in agribusiness policy and all these things. So I decided then in 2020 of October 2020, that I'm going to quit my job to fully concentrate on our farm production, and started doing much involvement at the farm. And over and above that, I then engaged with another friend of mine. He's also his friend who's based in Europe, in London, and he says we want to establish a business on food drying. But I said to my friend, I can't get this business going without this person that I know is hands-on. Number one, she has the experience that we needed. So we also co-founded another business that's called West Oak Natural Foods. You can look at it. I can also share with you the website. There at West Oak, what we just do is we doing the promotion of drying of fruits and vegetables with the Zimbabwean provenance. So fruits that mostly are prevalent in Zimbabwe, and we are just drying that. natural drying, and then we are packaging for sale. And then we are also doing that same for other vegetables and herbs, spices and herbs, and ginger powders, garlic powders, tomato powders, and other fruits. So we're supplying, our main target is to supply food manufacturers that use those as ingredients for their sale as snacks and the likes.
Wow. Wow, that's such like overview of how to set up a farm. And that's what I wanted to ask, because I feel like you actually identified all those gaps in the food system where you can fill in. On that way, also have an all year round production. Given the fact that you have the river, let's be honest, that's that's a luck, because Zimbabwe also faces some water scarcity issues. So having that river next to your farm is definitely an advantage. And now using this drying process, which also I assume would help if you would have any surplus to produce that, and then providing nutrition in a different and more shelf stable or shelf life, longer shelf life condition. So is there any chance for other food technologists in Zimbabwe to join your project to learn? Because I feel like your project is definitely an example what others or the future generation could actually learn from. Are you engaging in any of these activities?
So my engagement with other people, what we have just been doing is, remember I said I'm doing consultancy.
Yeah.
So mostly it's sharing my experience and my expertise in terms of value addition. If there's anybody who comes in and says, okay, I'm working on this. So now I've actually got an interesting client. She's working on peanut butter bars to cater for malnutrition. Uh, Target communities. She's a doctor by profession, I think. So I'm just helping her with the formulations and putting together such products to come together. But in terms of actual work with other food technologists, other than mentoring STEM women, so young women to be involved in STEM careers, and the work that I do with the Usawa Institute, Girls Speak Out Institute, where I teach young girls to venture into farming, and maybe just my involvement with the University of Zimbabwe Food Science Department on a pro bono basis, where I come in and just do talks and linking them to a whole world of the bigger picture of the world and opportunities as a food technologist. I don't have much going on, but with the farmers, the smallholder farmers, I try to get involved in their business in terms of the food safety aspect. What chemicals should they use on the farm to render food safe from farm to fork? Number one. Number two, what alternatives can they do and can they have? So that's where the issue of value addition comes through. If somebody says, I was thinking of this, then I try to refine that using my experience as a food technologist. Say, okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. That's how I'm very much involved, and over and above linking them to other viable markets. So to say, okay, I have a client that wants a supply of 300 kgs of pepper every week. I can't do that only on my farm because I'm still growing. I'm still at the growing stage of my business, right? And I still have a lot that I need invested in my program. So I actually am calling for help from anyone who can come in. We want to establish greenhouses to cater for the issue of climate change, number one. Number two, to also make sure that we continuously supply even and produce even out of season crops using those greenhouses. That's our aim. We aim to have 5 on our premise. And then also the issue of mechanization. We are grouping farmers to say, let's group up. We've engaged with my husband with 3 suppliers of machines, tractors, and we are hoping to, and we are trying to establish a fund where we get a machine that services the number of farmers that are around us. And we managed to buy a bull, which is a beef master bull, which we are sharing with the people in the community as well, to share the genes of that bull with their local, so inbreeding, to make sure that they have a better improved breed of cattle that's on their farms. So these are things that we are doing on a voluntary basis, and we still are calling for anyone who's out there and who feels they want to have an involvement in food systems, but they don't know how, to come through to us to help us establish. Number one, our biggest issue is that of the greenhouses, and then we want to establish a drying facility at the farms. Number one. Number two, and then I think, let me just put in another interesting project that we've recently started working with. I spoke about it when we were discussing having the conversation for Food for Earth. I'm working with another lady. She's a former banker, but she's involved in food. She runs a food truck and a mobile kitchen. So we are working on a project to have biodigesters. You know, I don't know, I have sort of an allegiance to food waste. So we were saying there's a lot of food remnants at the farm. When we've graded a lot of our fresh produce, the ones that are blemished, the ones that if we can't give them away, and we can't, we in excess, we are feeding our livestock, but then there's still a lot. What can we do with it? So we decided that we were going to, what project was viable with that. So we saw that we could do biodigesters to feed back into the system. And those biodigesters are going to be fed by remnants from the farm. So all the rotten and ungraded stuff and unsuitable, graded and suitable stuff for sale, we're going to be using them as material to fire the biodigester, and as well as excrete, livestock excrete, to fire that biodigester. And then we produce biogas. That biogas is going to be fed back into for cooking at our farm household, right? And we feel that when we scale up that project, we will going to roll out to our neighboring farmers, because they almost produce similar stuff, maybe not at the same capacity as we are doing, and also they have livestock. So we are saying the project scaling position is we will be aiming any farmer that has cattle or livestock that produces at least 100 kgs of manure that can be used to fire the biodigester. For them, bringing sustainable environmental situations and energy solutions to people that are otherwise in the rural areas, that are cutting down trees, which is also causing issues for our environment, for our earth. So we want to curb it with that. And then with the other lady, remember I said she's involved in mobile kitchens. So we're saying their food remnants, because her business model is such that whatever they leftover food from their kitchen, they compost it and they use it to grow their own vegetables. And so they are growing their own vegetables, and also they are producing their own chickens to sell in the restaurants. The business is called Timeless Gourmet for my friend. Her name is Trisha Carter. Hi, shout out to you and the work that you're doing. So she's also going to be doing that. So it's going to be a two-pronged solution for those type of businesses. So we are targeting the messy type of people, farmers who have food waste and all, and also we are targeting the Trish kind of people that are running smallholder restaurants and all, so that we keep the issue of food waste. Over and above that.
Wow. Yes, finish your sentence, because I am very inspired. In the meanwhile, I actually have all these different things where I would like to connect you with, because last Friday I had the chance to jury on the Holt Prize, and there was a team from Zambia who was creating biodigesters for exactly the same purposes. So maybe you could get in touch with them and they can provide you with the digesters. They have bigger for farmers, but they also have smaller what they wanted to provide for households to use their own food waste. That was one. The second, our partner FarmTech Society might be someone who I can put you in touch for your greenhouse projects. So there are so many things, because let's look at the fact you are involved in the whole regeneration of our food system. It's amazing. So, because I need to be conscious of the time as well a tiny bit. And I think you kind of already gave the answer by explaining all of these projects, what you are involved in. And I don't even know how do you find the time in 24 hours to run all these and move all these pieces. But if you would need to summarize in one sentence, how does your preferred food future look like?
My preferred food future looks like a world where nothing is not looking into the future. So by that I mean whatever our actions today need to take care of the future generations. So we don't have to live in regrets in our involvement in the food systems. That's why I think you see that in all this that I'm trying to do, it's touching on this and touching on that, so that I make that impact to say this can be done. And if we can take time to make ourselves involved and preserve this earth that we have. There's no plan B earth. We only have this one and this one alone. So whatever we do today has to have a positive impact on the future of the earth tomorrow. So that's exactly what I just want to say. And I was going to say previously, our solution for the biodigester is not just producing sustainable energy, it's also producing organic fertilizer that we will be putting back to the system. And it's amazing the power of that organic fertilizer, what it does to the production, what it does to the soil structure, what it does to the reduction of carbon footprint back into the earth, because the carbon dioxide is being trapped. Instead of released as methane to the earth, is being changed to a lesser toxic component, which is the carbon dioxide, which has lesser harm to the earth. So in all these things, wherever I am and wherever I'm looking at my innovations, I'm looking, what can we do to conserve the earth, to continuously conserve the earth, so that it becomes a secular system, a secular production system. That's my drive.
Amazing. Merci, thank you so much. It was amazing to start this day with you, because now I am fueled with all this energy that came through this screen. I'm very happy that I had the chance to chat with you. For those who joined us a bit late, don't worry, because it will be posted immediately now on IGTV, so you will be able to listen to all the inspiring stories what Merci shared with us about her work and connection to the food system. And please stay tuned, because the next conversation will be next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. Merci, thank you again, and I'm sure we will stay in touch.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, the Future Food Institute. I've just seen Food Tank joint, but it was a bit late. Yeah, it would have been interesting for them to know that they are the ones that linked me to the institute and to the alumni. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Cheers. Bye bye.